Exalted, a history. Narrated to you by Genshsphere Longato, the storm that grasps the horizon, right hand of His Imperial Majesty Malpheus, King of the Yozis. For those of you who are new to the setting, please be aware that all sources, whether primary or secondary, are heavily biased in favor of their own agenda, much like in the real world. However, I will endeavor to keep this recording without such bias, for the purposes of record-keeping, in accordance with the perfected principle of hierarchy. Chapter the First, Zen Mu. In the time before time, there was nothing but the limitless possibility of the primordial soup known as the Wild. A crucible of endless potential, yet it meant nothing. It possessed nothing. For a time, there may be an energy pattern that would develop. Perhaps it would have conscious thought, it would have feelings, it could comprehend of its own mortality, if only as a dream. Yet that was truly nothing, for it came and it went, and it brought nothing with it, took nothing with it, meant nothing. Surely, if the Wild was a limitless crucible of possibility and magic, surely something of lasting value could rise from it. And so something did. It was then that Cytherea, the divine ignition, stirred in her slumber. She had long dreamed of worlds, but now she dreamed a new dream. She dreamed of fear. She dreamed that she might be alone forever, without any others of her kind. And so she dreamed a powerful dream, the dream of waking, and with the power of the Wild made manifest, she awoke from her forever slumber. Then before her she found the dragon beyond the world, Oramus, eldest of her kind, the Titans. He came to her and said,
I have long waited for you to dream the dream of waking. Without it, our kind might not exist. Come, we shall wake the others.
The two traveled through the Wild, forever, however, whenever, forever, whatever. Such things had no distinction within that roiling chaos without form. Or, at least, they used to be meaningless. In their wake, like footprints on a wet, sandy beach, the Titans left behind them order. They imposed form upon the formlessness of the Wild, and left behind them miniature worlds. Yet, without them, such worlds would gradually die, like the meaningless energy patterns that had arisen before the Titans. As time not passed, they gathered to them a small number of Titans like themselves, all in all, less than 3 dozen. Still, they were their people, and for once they were united. However, there were outliers. They made king the one known as Marduk, the mountain and the goat upon it, for he was so massive that even he could not believe it. He called out to them, saying,
Am I not Marduk, the mountain and the goat upon it?
And they said, You are indeed Marduk, king of all those like you, king of the Titans. But Marduk was not king. The king dwelt beyond the sea, upon the eternal desert. Yet they feared him. They would not let him cross the sea, for he would be ruler of them all. He would be unopposed. Those gathered Titans need not fear Marduk's kingship, for while he was ruler over them, he was so large as to be unfathomable to himself, so distracted by his own size, his own greatness, that he would leave them alone. The king that dwelled beyond the sea, he would do no such thing, for he was truly king. He would rule with glory and power and might beyond imagining, even for Isidoros, the black boar that twists the sky. His might was so great that he could tumble Marduk, should he desire it. Yet he could do nothing against the king that dwelled beyond the sea, so even he, agreed that the king must remain. Yet, there can never be true peace so long as there are troublemakers in any society, even Titanic society. They had all agreed, wordlessly, that they would merely leave the king to dwell beyond the sea. Yet, the shadow of all things, the great Nemesis himself, dwelled in darkness. He rankled at the idea of his brethren agreeing on something, on anything. He would not let this pass. So he went to the great sea Kimberly, and he said,
"They have decided many things in your absence, sister. They take for granted your kindness and self-sacrificing nature. They do not know how your water boils in protest of the king. Perhaps you might teach them a lesson. Teach them to appreciate your benevolence. Perhaps you might allow the king to cross over your waters. Create a great ship for him to pass into Zen Mu, where he shall rule. Perhaps then you should be his favorite and watch as the others suffer his divine wrath."
Though the deceit of the shadow allowed the Emperor of all things and his elder sister, Ceciline, the law-bringer princess, great judge of the Titans, to come to Zen Mu, where they dwelled, the Titans themselves would not abandon their freedom. They flocked to the false King Marduk. They climbed his slopes. They armed the goat upon the mountain. And so they began a great war against the king, who himself gathered many allies out of fear for disobeying the true king, whom they knew would inevitably claim victory. He was the Holy Tyrant. He was invincible and perfect. And so he stormed against the forces of Marduk and conquered them all in hand. Yet he did not kill. The Titans could not die. If they were slain, they would be reborn in a perfect cycle of reincarnation. Their memories would be gone. Their personalities would need to reform again. But they did not truly die. The numbers were never reduced. They would always remain perfect and eternal. The faces would differ with time, but they would remain. Finally crowned ruler of all those like him, the Holy Tyrant decreed that all the Titans should play the game of worlds. And so they did. They told enormous stories, truly limitless in scope, thanks to the narrative magics of the wild. Yet, like those energy patterns, like those consciousnesses that preceded the Titans, they were empty, hollow, meaningless. They had no substance to them. And so, the Titans, finally convinced that there was nothing more that the wild had to offer them, invented sadness that they might feel it. The king gathered all of them to his side that they might discuss what they should do in order to overcome this great sadness that gripped their people. So the king consulted with his elder sister, who was as wise as she was endless. She spoke of the shining answer which existed beyond the wild. Yet, what could exist beyond the crucible of all possibilities? Still, Adorian, the river of all torments, spoke up. She had seen it beyond a low-hanging tree. She could bring their people that far, though they must find the true path beyond the tree together. Still, the Titans were unconvinced. They were a fickle people who had played with entire worlds in Zen Mu. They could not merely be convinced of some fantastic answer that dwelled beyond what they had created for themselves in the wild. But then, from beyond the king, came a voice, a whispering flame of pure crystal. She said,
If it cannot be disproven, then it is most certainly true. I can destroy that which is of the wild, yet I cannot destroy the shining answer that has been spoken of. Therefore we must seek it and see.
And so, guided by the whispering flame, the Titans set out to find the shining answer.